another episode of My Friends in Cannabis, but this one's a little bit different. As you know, I'm Omari Anderson. I'm here with Miss Ryah Wooten. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. So I'm excited to get into this conversation about wellness, about your personal health journey. I appreciate you being so open about it.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, maybe a year ago now?
Yeah, about a year and a half almost.
Okay,
Yeah.
a year and a half ago, Miss Ryah was diagnosed with breast cancer. Let me not steal your thunder. Let me actually have you tell this story
Yeah.
and let people know what happened.
Yeah. So, let's see. It's been almost about a year and a half ago. So December of 2022, it was like a week after my 31st birthday, I was diagnosed with stage 0 breast cancer. So meaning the cancer cells were localized into this one spot. It's highly treatable. It's like if you get a cancer, that is the one to get. That means it is just now detectable. It is treatable. It just depends on your body and what happens, like the different treatments that it requires. But, like the outcomes were very promising, but it was really shocking, and it took a lot to get there just because I was 31 at the time. And I don't know if a lot of people know, but women aren't eligible to get mammograms until they're 40 plus. So your insurance doesn't cover it. It's not a thing. Most doctors will write it off. Like it's probably nothing. So it was a big deal that it was caught, and I was 31 at the time. And then that just took me down a whole journey. And so now I'm here. But through that, I had decided to get a mastectomy. So that means and it was only on one side. So it was on my right side, a unilateral mastectomy, meaning I would remove all breast tissue on the right side. So that means all cancer tissue, all healthy breast tissue, everything. The reason for doing that is just that it's just more likely that the cells will not come back. So some people can get like a lumpectomy, meaning like they just remove those cancer cells, but I just decided to get rid of it all. So yeah, so now I'm cancer-free. I didn't have to have any other surgeries or treatments or chemo or anything after that. So after my mastectomy, that was it. Sounds simple, but it really wasn't.
No, it sounds kind of scary.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to check your body at such a young age?
Yeah. I have to be honest, I didn't think that I would ever have cancer, especially just at a young age. So I have to be very honest. I wouldn't say that that was something that was in the forefront of my mind. My mom just from a young age had told me all about doing self-checks. And, that means like after my menstrual cycle, like women should always just be checking their breasts, make sure that nothing's different, and just really knowing your body. So I will say that played a big part in it. A lot of women don't. We take it for granted. We know like, oh, I know my body. I know how it feels, and just kind of go from there. But really checking your body every month, it like reminds your body of how it should feel and like when things are not right. So I was doing that. I had some symptoms that just didn't feel right. My breast tissue just didn't feel the same. I wasn't sure, but in my mind, at the time, I'm only 30. There's no way this is anything serious. I was a collegiate athlete, so I thought, I did all the things to make sure that my body was able to compete, that I was healthy, that I was in shape. I work out all the time, so I didn't think anything of it. But I had some symptoms, and so I went and I saw my doctor, and I let her know. She's also a Black woman, and I really, really take pride in going to see physicians who look like me, especially Black women. And so I told her about my symptoms. At the time, she felt like it's probably nothing, but just because she was just so proactive. And, studies just show that Black women tend to get breast cancer diagnosis a lot more often than white women. She sent me to have a mammogram. I remember trying to schedule, and they pushed me out months. So I went I saw my doctor in July, and I couldn't get in to get a mammogram till November. And that was because a lot of things. It was my health was pretty good. It was really good, actually. I was only 30 at the time, and they were like, it's probably nothing. So it took a long time to get in. And then once I did, and I had a mammogram, I had to come back for more tests. And it was confirmed that I actually did have DCIS is the name of it, but I did have breast cancer.
Wow. Yeah. I'm so happy to hear that, they caught it early, right? And that your doctor listens to you, right? Mm-hmm. Because like you said, you being so young, I'm sure she's probably like, it's nothing. Mm-hmm. And it ended up being something.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your aftercare, right? Mm-hmm. So, actually, let's talk about the surgery. So how was that? And
it was very traumatic, actually. the expectation was that I would go in, it would be technically like an outpatient surgery. Like I would have this mastectomy. And again, only because of my age, they just, they said like, you're really healthy. You'll be fine. You'll have this. My husband was there and then they were like, y'all can go home. Like it's going to be okay. So we went in and actually it was very traumatic. I don't remember a lot of it, but my husband tells me and, gave me some updates, but the surgery was supposed to last about an hour and a half and it ended up being like almost 4. I lost a lot of blood. It just didn't do well. The medications that I was on just to go under, they just didn't work well with me. And that's kind of a thing for me too. Like, even if I take Benadryl, I'm out for 8 hours. Like I'm down, so I kind of wasn't surprised, but it was a lot. So we kind of went through that. I ended up having to get 2 blood transfusions. I lost so much blood.
Wow.
We ended up staying in the hospital for about 4 days. I was in a lot of pain. I felt super groggy. It's funny even now, like it's such a blur. Like I really don't remember a lot of it. So it was pretty traumatic. But again, I had my breast surgeon was a Black woman. The nurses that took care of me in the hospital, Black women, and they really just listened to me and they were so patient and they really got me through. So it was kind of traumatic, but we made it.
Wow. Shout out to the nurses and the doctors.
Yes.
And, make sure you had proper care.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about your aftercare, right? So I'm sure you go home, they give you a bunch of prescription drugs for you to manage the pain.
Yes.
What happens next?
So I got lots of prescriptions, and I'm probably going to forget some as I name these off, but I had a lot of prescriptions for pain, a lot of narcotics because, I had a serious surgery. I also had like a surgical drain. So it looks like a long tube and at the bottom it looks like a ball and it looks like blood, but it collects just a lot of bodily fluids to kind of help the body heal a little bit faster. And so what happens is it goes like in my side and like up around. So what happened was I had a mastectomy and I had reconstruction. So meaning like then I get an implant so that like cosmetically like I just look symmetrical. So there's this tube that goes into your body and it goes like all around, like it was pretty long. And then like you have lots of sutures and it's a lot of things. So we went home, I was on steroids and all types of different things. I kind of don't even remember, but it was a lot of different things. The pain was severe, I will say. It was a lot. I feel like I have a high pain tolerance, but like it was pretty serious. I had a lot of narcotics, which then kind of played into me like not wanting to eat. I didn't sleep well. I was having nightmares and it was a lot of things. And so that's when I decided to use the Best Dirty Lemonade, for my recovery. And it was absolutely the best choice. I immediately stopped. And I will say, like for context, always consult your doctor.
Absolutely.
But I felt like throughout this process, it was very important for me to listen to my body and do what was best for me. And so the narcotics just wasn't a thing for me. It just didn't work well. I already had a hard road when I was in the hospital, and I really wanted to be present throughout this. I have a son who's 4 now, but at the time he was 2 going on 3. And so my family was there. And so this was the time where like my village was really, really present. And I felt like I wasn't even present enough to even like be able to heal with them around me. Like I was just in a fog. I was always asleep. It was just a lot. So I decided to just stop taking the pain meds at the time and just use the Best Dirty Lemonade. I felt like ingesting cannabis was going to be the best thing for me, and it absolutely was. I felt like I could sleep at night, like actually get a good night's sleep, which is essential for healing.
Absolutely.
I had finally got my appetite back, which was a big thing. And then I was able to just be present. I wasn't groggy when I woke up in the morning. I was able to like kind of be a mom, even as I was like recovering, but even just like be with my family while we were there and just kind of get through this together. Like I really, truly believe and know that ingesting and having the Best Dirty Lemonade gave me that chance and gave me like the ability to like make the most of my recovery.
So now we live in Georgia.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
No secret.
Yes.
How was the conversation with your doctor when you informed her that you wanted to use cannabis for your post-surgery recovery?
So I was very honest, to start off. I had let her know. She, had asked even before the surgery, they asked, the different medications you use and things like that. And I told her, I was very forthcoming and said, am I do use cannabis. I use it recreationally and I use it medicinally. I feel like it's very helpful for me. I let her know that like this is a very anxious time for me. Like this is a lot going on, and so I have been using. This is where I am. She was very forthcoming about, okay, I would suggest let's stop using before a couple days before surgery, which totally understood. And then I did let her know that I do plan on using again afterwards. And so she was okay with that too. She did say, I do want to prescribe you these things. I want you to have these things, you know, like, but again, you have to listen to your body. Now, you know, there are some doctors who will tell you like, no, let's not do that and all those things. And, you know, you have to just do what's best for you. And again, you got to consult, you know, your medical providers. But I was just really blessed enough to have a doctor who really took into account what I felt like was best for me. And so she gave me the prescriptions, but she always, you know, also wanted to make sure that like I felt safe enough to tell her exactly what I was doing and that my overall health was the most important thing. And so I feel like that was the biggest piece for me. So, you know, it was kind of like a little bit of both. It was kind of like, okay, cool, do what's best for you, but I am going to give you these medications and you kind of just have to pick and choose and do what's best.
Wow. Okay. Okay. And what's your relationship with cannabis like now? Are you still a patient?
Yeah. So I feel like cannabis has made such a difference in my life, right? So I think this journey really solidified for me how important cannabis is medicinally in my life. I never had like a major surgery before this, so I can't say that I had like a real major reason for using cannabis outside of like if I had a headache, I'm definitely going to consume, or if I'm nauseous, or I mean down to like if I'm hungover, if I drink too much, like things like that, I will use cannabis for. But this was the first time I used it for like a really, really serious medical condition. And so I feel like my relationship with cannabis has grown so much. Like I have just been like really a student to the world of cannabis. It has really just opened my eyes to just like all the different effects, all the different types, all the different strains, and like even learning like the different strains that work best for me and don't, and even like using my other senses to tell like, is this gonna be good for me? Is this what I feel like using, you know? So I feel like my relationship has really grown. I think it's also grown in my family as well. My dad has always been a cannabis user, like, you know, when he was younger and then kind of coming up, but he kind of like took a break, you know, like as he was in his professional life, you know, he felt like, okay, just kind of how a lot of people think, like, oh, if I get drug tested at work, like this could be a thing. And so he took a break. But as he retired, he really got back into it. He is a former athlete. He played basketball, college basketball. And so it really helps him. My dad also has some anxieties, like when he flies and things like that. And so cannabis has really been a big component in that, so that he can travel, so that, you know, he's just a little bit more calm, things like that. My mom as well. No, she doesn't like to smoke, but like seeing me ingest it really kind of opened her mind to it. And so now like she loves the best thing lemonade, but she loves to just ingest cannabis. And I feel like going through this kind of opened up this lens for my family and maybe like a lot of friends and a lot of other people. And I was not shy about telling people this is what I was using, you know, throughout my recovery. So I feel like this kind of opened up, it broadened my relationship, but I feel like it opened it up for a lot of people around me too.
Wow, I love that. You're like a walking testimony.
I try.
And shout out to your mom who will be getting some more lemonade. So, what advice would you give others who may be facing a similar diagnosis and recovery process?
Good question. I would say trust your body. Trust your body. Listen to your body. I think for me in this process, I knew when something was wrong, but then your mind will try to trick you like, no, it can't be. And you'll start looking things up and all that. Trust your body and always ask a lot of questions. I would also say find a doctor who you feel comfortable with, who you can be completely honest with. That's super important. Someone who will listen to you. And then if you go to someone and they're not that, be willing to find somebody else for sure. I would also say that you are your own advocate. You're your number one advocate. And so remember that you are never too difficult. Like this is your life. I think especially with Black people and Black women, sometimes we don't want to come off too difficult. I know sometimes I would feel like that, but I was just really blessed enough to have doctors and medical professionals who were very patient with me, very open with me. I felt that I could trust. But I will absolutely say, if I did not feel that, I would have found somebody else. So those are two things. And then also just like, you have to do what's best for you.
Absolutely.
You absolutely have to do what's best for you. So yeah, those are definitely some things that I would tell somebody.
Oftentimes people say, after they've had a scare or a life-altering event, they feel like they have a second lease on life, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's your case?
Yeah.
And how are you using this second lease on life to make a difference?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like this was like a rebirth in this crazy way. I definitely wouldn't want to go through it again, but I feel like now I just like life can just change like that. Cancer and so many other things just don't care. They don't care about, how old you are, like how in shape you are, how much you have your life together. Like it just doesn't matter. And so I think that like seize the day, do what you love, like, take advantage of life. Like life is so short. I think this journey has just opened up the possibilities for me. I also just like won't settle. I'm not settling like in my job or in my relationships or in life. Like I just want to just like make the most of everything. And I know that sounds very cliche, but it's very real. And also too, just know that like, you'll always figure it out. Like things like this put other things in perspective. Like nothing is ever that real until it becomes life or death. And I think that like, that's definitely my new look on life. It's really crazy, but I feel like this is the best thing to ever have happened to me. I think after this journey, I feel like I am living a more fulfilled life. So it's wild. Like I'm appreciative for the journey. I wouldn't do it again. I'm appreciative for it, but I definitely feel like I'm just a better Ryah now. So
I love that for you. Listen, Ryah, I think this is a great place to cut it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your journey. And more importantly, thank you for incorporating our product in your healing. I'm happy to know that you were able to use it. It provided you with some relief. Oftentimes we sit in these silos and we're trying to develop a good product, right? But hearing that you used it and that it provided you with relief really warms my heart and it keeps me going, right?
Yes, you should. And I do want you to know that like, if it wasn't for your product, I don't necessarily know if I would have had such a pleasant-ish experience in this. And so I'm really grateful and I'm just really appreciative of you too.
Thank you, Ryah.